Hello! Welcome to another episode of The Midday Show, hosted by J.R. Bjornson. I am your host, the man with the two initial name. That's me, J to the R. And on today's episode of The Midday Show, we are going to discuss perhaps the greatest, most delicious recipe of my childhood. It's my mother's famous dip. And what makes my mother's famous dip so delicious, you might wonder? It is because she would make it from as long as I could remember. It all started around 1993. I was this young 2-year-old kid that was fascinated with World Wrestling Federation. At the time, it was called WWF, and it was, as you guessed it, wrestling. Now, I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but I am wearing my shirt. Today, you can only see my face because we are still working out the kinks here. That's right, the Midday Show, hosted by J.R. Bjornson, now has a video feed. I did not know we could do videos on Spotify. I guess Joe Rogan's been doing it a while, and I just thought, you know what? I got to give it a shot, right? So now, while you're listening to the Midday Show hosted by J.R. Bjornson, you can look at my face, and I'm sorry. It is a face for radio. I can't change it. I know, right? This whole time, you thought I was a good-looking stud. Unless you knew me, then you knew the truth. But this whole time, you thought I was a good-looking stud, and now our ratings are just gonna plummet. Obviously, I am saying this stuff to be funny. I am joking. I think everybody's good-looking in their own way. For me, it happens to be my voice. So my mom's always had a passion for WWF, now called WWE, and she would love to watch Monday Night Raw, which I think premiered in 93 or something like that. I can't remember the premiere date. I was just a young kid. And wrestling would have its pay-per-views. Pay-per-views, if you don't know, are these live premium events that you pay $40 to watch. Back in the day, it was $30. And then I think it went up to like $50. I don't know what it costs these days. I don't really purchase the pay-per-views anymore. I don't really watch wrestling like I once did. I knew the WWE was in town. They were at the Saddle Dome in Calgary, just down the road from me. That was pretty cool. I didn't go because I'm not rich and I don't make a lot of money, so I prioritize not going to concerts and awesome events, because I have a big family. There's 7 of us, and we barely make enough to go to these live events. So I don't go. We don't go, right? But it was so cool. So I tuned into Monday Night Raw just for old time's sake. And it was pretty sweet to see WWE broadcast from the Saddle Dome in Calgary. I watched for the first hour and then I moved on because if you don't know this about me, I tend to suffer from ELDS, which is easily distracted syndrome. I'm just always on the go. Is he diagnosed ADHD? Maybe. Will he ever get on the medicine? Probably not. I like the constant internal monologue of my thoughts. I really do. So back to my story. That's why, if you ever wonder, why does he veer off his stories half the time? That's why. I'm easily distracted. My mother would make this delicious, scrumptious dip. And it was 4 layers of corn. So let's start from the top, right? The bottom layer would have your tuna. We all know what tuna is. You can get it in a can. It's a type of fish. And love tuna, right? So at the bottom of the layer, you put canned tuna. And then the next layer, what you want to do is you want to do sour cream. Delicious, right? So put that layer on top of your tuna layer. And then you want to add canned corn. Not cream corn, canned corn. Because it's going to soak in to the sour cream. And then after you do that, so what are our 3 layers so far, right? We have tuna, sour cream, and corn. corn, canned corn. And then the delicious resistance, right? The delicacy, as they say. You can use your own spice if you want. Either mild, medium, or hot salsa. That's what we need, right? We need salsa. This is up to your taste buds. We always did medium warm. We always did medium hot salsa, right? Just enough to feel something. But the coolest thing is, even if you used hot spicy salsa, the sour cream would minimalize the spice hit because sour cream is cool like that. Why does this 4-layer dip bring me great happiness? Well, it's because my mom made it. Everything that we've ever had in our childhood was always heavily influenced by our parents. And for some reason, the 4-layer dip was my most cherished of memories because my mother would make this dip in a pan. And not to cook it, just like... what do you call those? We make shepherd's pie, roast pans, yeah. So it was a roast pan so people can just scoop in, right? Before we all got worried about germs and sharing. It was always with the family, so it was no big deal. What kind of chips you need? That's a great question. The chips you need is, we use scoops these days, but back in the day, we just used any type of like plain chip or, all dressed. As long as you can dip with the chip, as long as you can come in and scoop the dip, that's all that matters. So you can use whatever chips you want. These days, with my little family clan, we tend to use scoops. Now, they're called scoops because the chips are in these bucket shapes. So you can scoop up the dip in that bucket and then go crunch, crunch like it. It is so very good. This dip was made just before each WWE pay-per-view. The big ones being WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and the Royal Rumble. Those were the main ones we always purchased because the Royal Rumble would set the WWE storyline to what is this coming year's WrestleMania, the Super Bowl of all pay-per-views in WWE. Who's going to go for the championship? So the Royal Rumble would get it started. And then we would have WrestleMania. WrestleMania is that, right? The Super Bowl of all wrestling pay-per-views. And then after WrestleMania, you have SummerSlam. And SummerSlam was always advertised as the biggest party of the summer. And again, we'd have our dip. And I loved it. It was always fun. I always think of the time me and my mom spent together on those pay-per-views. Because my mother was a hard-working woman. She was always at work. I barely seen her from 9 to 5. And then when she came home, she was always stressed out from work. But when she made that dip, that was the one time she was not stressed out. It was the one time she was actually sitting with me in front of the TV and we were hanging out, mother and son and mother. It was beautiful. And, shout out to all the hardworking moms of the 90s, 80s, because you did your best to raise your kids. But unfortunately, because you worked, you probably didn't see your kids as often. And shout out to the teachers who see your kids more than your moms and dads see their own kids, because you're the teacher, right? You see these kids come into school every day. And shout out to them for all the hard work as well. You know what? Shout out to everybody, even the kids who go to school, because your at-home life is not the safest. Maybe you're treated badly. Maybe your parents are... they have so many demons to go through and they forget about what it's like to actually parent you. So shout out to everybody. And I just wanted to share my dip story and why I enjoyed my mother's dip. Normally I try to figure out how much time I have left here, but my clock is not... Give me like 5 seconds here. I'm just gonna get my wireless keyboard here, because we broadcast all these episodes on a Mac, an iMac to be exact, and this iMac is it's a good iMac. It's just sometimes it has its hiccups. There we go. So I'm able to see my time now. And if there's one thing I love about this iMac is all of Apple's keyboards. They're all wireless. So I'm holding up to the camera my wireless keyboard. And that's why I'm able to put the keyboard on my lap and zoom in on the time. And looking at the time, we are coming up to 11 minutes. So I think that's a good enough episode. I do these episodes 10 to 14 minutes, and it's because I can barely stand listening to anything longer myself. So I try not to make these episodes too long. But if you're ever interested in longer episodes, do let me know, either through leaving a reply on Spotify, or you can also leave a reply on YouTube, because the copies of these episodes go up on YouTube as well. Usually about a few hours after the original podcast airs, because, I have to do some editing work and make sure everything looks good and upload the duplicate. And then my internet gets mad at me because, I always bring down the traffic. The Midday Show, brought to you by you, the viewer. If you're ever interested in sponsoring an episode, visit buymeacoffee.com/Bjornson. That's buymeacoffee.com/Bjornson, BJORNSON. Over at Buy Me a Coffee, you can buy us a coffee to power the show for $5. You can buy 5 coffees for $25. And it just keeps me powered and lets me feel like this is a job, right? All right, I'm going to make like a Tom and cruise on out of here. I will catch you in the next one. This is J.R. Bjornson. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really enjoy hanging out with you. It's always fun.